that loss means the Bills have clinched. And the only thing left to be decided, I guess the Texans mathematically could still fall out and Indy could top them, but that seems very unlikely down the stretch here. The other spot to consider is Pittsburgh and Baltimore. The Ravens are 2 games back of the Steelers with 2 games to go. All the Steelers have to do is beat the Browns in Week 17, and they clinch. They are in. So it probably is going to hold at what it presently is. These 7 teams, the Broncos, the Patriots, the Jags, the Steelers, the Chargers, the Bills, the Texans, are going to be the playoff field. And now what's left to be decided is seeding. And there are 5 teams that could still be the 1. The Bills, the Chargers, the Texans, and really the Jags or even New England could be the 5, which would mean a trip to Pittsburgh. So there's a lot of seeding to be had here. But the Bills are in again. And this playoff run is going to be a unique one and is going to feel different because they're going on the road and because you do not have the Chiefs there. You do not have the looming big quarterbacks that are in your way between yourself and the Super Bowl, other than if you want to qualify Justin Herbert and Drake May as that. But those two, not yet on the level, by reputation that Jackson, who's won multiple MVPs, from Mahomes, who's won multiple Super Bowls, and from Burrow, who's been to the Super Bowl. But certainly good quarterbacks. The Bills, I'm thinking more about them today. Here's the news that Allen is sore, but he's good. Like, he's okay. I guess we'll see, right? Like, he's also the type of player that would absolutely play through whatever he's got. Like, that's just who he is. And we'll see if he's able to really move a lot on that sore foot. On Sunday, we will see if he can push off and make throws consistently the way that he was up until really the second half of that game against Cleveland. But they're going to the playoffs. And I wonder what fans right now are most concerned about holding them back from making the Super Bowl. Because I don't think it's the field. They're good teams. Jacksonville's great. I think Jacksonville's a great football team. New England is threatening because they have an amazing quarterback. I saw a clip of May navigating the pocket against Baltimore where one of his guards got beat clean immediately, and he juked the tackle in the pocket, scrambled to the right after the juke was to the left, and threw the ball on the run right on the money. Like, he's great. And the Bills did a job against him a couple of weeks ago, but he's a very, very good quarterback. So you could lose to them. You could lose to the Jags. You could lose to really any of these teams, except I just don't think Pittsburgh. But what are we most concerned about with this Bills team right now? And it doesn't have to be the receiving corps, because I think that is obviously the lightning rod position. It's rare, I think, that Bills fans would all be in unison on one thing where you'd all go, okay, yeah, that's a problem. That's a problem. Because there are McDermott detractors, and there are people that think McDermott is good enough. He is good enough to win me a Super Bowl as my head coach. And there are others that the second 13 seconds happened, and maybe, the second that they lose to the Bengals, or the second that he makes mistakes at the end in a game against Philly in the regular season, that you've, along the way, decided this dude's not winning the Super Bowl. This guy has a fatal flaw, and it's just not going to happen with him. So you could think it's McDermott. You could think it's the personnel on defense, that this team doesn't have a defensive line that's good enough, and that they're going to get pushed around. They're going to get bullied come playoff time. But the receiving room is absolutely going to be top of list. I think for a majority, I'll put a poll up actually to see if that ends up being the case. I think that's probably what you'll find out. Matt Harmon tweeted, and again, it's the Bills receiving room. So even Matt knows that you got to lead off a tweet about the Bills receiving room with the 2 words, dead horse, but. Those 3 words. Those 3 words are kind of how you got to start every conversation. It is absolutely beating a dead horse. what Matt said is this receiving room for a contending team is so insane. And he posted the numbers of all the Bills receivers from this last game against Cleveland and how Josh Palmer's out here running 74% of the routes on their dropbacks, and he only had 2 yards. And Tyrell Shavers is running routes on 65% of their routes in that game, and he had 1 catch. Just you do not have anybody right now that you'd feel confident in. And I would include all of it. Tight end, running back. Like, who would be the guy that a fan would most trust going into a playoff game to contribute? Shakir, by default, it would be Kincaid, but he's hurt. And how could you possibly say right now Josh Palmer? How could you possibly say Brandon Cooks with a couple of drops in back-to-back games? How could you say one of the running backs? I mean, some games they're involved, some games they're not. Really, first half of the year, it didn't really happen at all. How could you say Dawson Knox? It was nice to see him be capable of it for a couple of games there, but he has issues being the guy that you would go to in your biggest spot. 4th down, game on the line, you can close it out with a touchdown, and he can't catch it. And that's not the first time, by the way, that's happened. Hasn't happened in a playoff game for him the way it did for Kincaid. But there's a regular season game a couple of years ago against the New York Giants on Sunday Night Football. The Bills win a very low-scoring game, and it was the same thing. Knox, in a big moment, had the ball in his hands to extend that drive and really put the game on ice and dropped it. So it's happened for him before. He's not the guy you would say, I could count on Knox to be a big contributor in a playoff game. He could. All these guys could. But there's no reliability from any of it. How could that not be the number one answer to what could hold them back? That a team could expose their flaw in that way, dare them. This is how they've lost a lot of their games this year. It's how they lost in Atlanta. It's how they lost in Houston. These great defenses, Houston much more so than Atlanta, will dare you to throw the ball and throw the ball to those guys. Throw the ball to your receivers. One-on-one matchups. And, hey, throw it down the field on us. Let's see if you can do it. They were able to do it against Tampa. And it was nice to see that for a week. But it's just so inconsistent. And I think the reason that McDermott is maybe not on the top of the list for many right now, and that if they were to lose in a playoff game to any of these teams, that it would be less about McDermott and maybe more about Bean. I think the field does play into that. I think we're heading in, and there is a perception that I think is mostly true, that it is a shame that this team's roster is not in a better place to take advantage of the field that is presently in front of you. That you get a year here where some of those top-end quarterbacks are not there, and you might not have the team to take advantage of it. And I do think that matters, by the way, that those guys are not there. I think this is part of why I think the Bills are, I think one of the 2 most likely teams in this conference to go to the Super Bowl, even with all this being said. Because I think that every team's got flaws. And if you've got an elite superstar quarterback, you are, especially in the playoffs, you are more likely to get away with those flaws because you've got that guy. Whereas I think if you are looking at a Denver, I'm more confident you could beat a Denver because if I expose their flaws, there's no Bo Nix is going to make up for all of that. Usually, he's not going to make up for all of that. The Bills are the one team right now, I would say, in the field where, yeah, they certainly have flaws. A lot of them. But when you have the superstar quarterback, he can deem those, as not mattering. If you have a quarterback like 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers and a team comes after your flaws and exposes them, he's not making up for a lot of that. So they have him, but they should have a quarterback that hopefully is able to let them get away with it more than other teams. But if something held them back from going to the Super Bowl right now, does it have to be receiver? I'm going to put a poll up on this because I do think there are McDermott people on this, and there would be those that are worried about their defense getting exposed and, the roster as well. 803-0550 is the phone number. Let's go to the phones and go to Rob in Connecticut. Morning, Rob.
Hey, good morning, Joe, Owen, and Joe Cali. I wanted to wish everybody at WGR 550 a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Please be safe, first of all, because I won't be able to catch up with you tomorrow. Listen, guys, I got a suggestion, Joe. If you haven't seen it already, I caught an interview with John Elway with Rich Eisen yesterday on the Infinity Sports Network.
Okay.
They were talking about his documentary, Elway. Guys, please check it out. It is amazing. I was able to experience the whole Elway career. It took him 15 years to get his first Super Bowl. So as I'm watching this, I'm saying to myself, now I understand why they compare Josh Allen to Elway, because the fire inside Elway, you can see it in Josh Allen. And I just wish you guys could have experienced this. Like, you guys were too young, but check that documentary out.
Yeah.
It gives you kind of a little bit of hope for us and Josh Allen. So with that, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Thanks, Rob.
Yeah.
You as well. The Elway comparison, whenever it comes up, the only thing about Elway is it took a really long time. 37 and 38 years old before he won it. And sure, if Allen didn't win for the next 5-6 years, is it possible that he still could? Yeah. But I don't know. That would be very uncomfortable. It would be very anxious. I think fans are already getting anxious. And I think a lot of it is to do with Allen about to turn 30 and feeling like, all right, I don't have one yet. Let's go. I think they need to win one just for everybody to have fun again. Some fans are going to be fine when it comes to, I can enjoy all these games and I can have fun with this quarterback and this team because this is a special era, even if they haven't won yet. And then there's another fan, and I think I'm probably more in this bucket, which is I almost can't fully enjoy it because I'm so anxious about them winning one. Because they have to win one with this quarterback. Because if they didn't, it would be embarrassing. And it would certainly feel like, man, if I couldn't win it with that guy, I'm never going to win one. That anxiety, I mean, that's with me, that grows every year. And I know it does with a lot of other fans. So he's about to turn 30. He's heading to the playoffs, and none of the other kingpin quarterbacks are there. And I think the Bills have some flaws that could stop them from getting there. And I think it's receiver. I think they are capable of being exposed there. If I had to put my number 2 on that list, I don't think I'd go to the defense. I don't know. Like, something about the guys coming back, and it's tough to know, like, what state Ed Oliver will be in when he returns. And it's tough to know, when all these guys are, but when Bernard is fully healthy. If he even gets there, he might not. What the linebacker situation looks like as you head into the playoffs. It's tough to know what those guys are going to give you. I guess I'm just not as concerned about McDermott being the thing that's going to hold them back. He's got it down more recently on fourth down decision-making again. Started poor on the season on that, but overall, that's been good. And he's been very aggressive with that in the playoffs. The defense has been improving, and figuring out ways to win despite not having great players on that side. How could it not be receiver? 803-0550 is the phone number. If you got a thought on this, is there a thing that you are really worried is going to hold them back from at least going to the Super Bowl? Or maybe it's, maybe it's winning the Super Bowl. Merry Christmas. It is 2 days until Christmas. So today's like the real last-minute shopping day of the year. So if you're doing that, good luck. And, stay dry. It's like a snow globe effect out there right now. The Christmas movie I was watching yesterday is the one where Arnold Schwarzenegger is, of course, shopping like last second. Jingle All the Way.
Jingle All the Way.
Underrated Christmas movie. It is so cheesy. But I mean, most Christmas movies are cheesy. Turbo Man. Is this a good Christmas movie, or am I giving it too much credit?
No,
I feel like that people would consider that a holiday classic, right?
Ooh, I see. I wasn't going that
No?
far.
Yeah,
I was willing to call it a good Christmas movie. I was not willing to call it a holiday
I don't
classic.
think I would. I just think that's a
I think
movie
you
that
just
has
did.
a following.
You think you just called it a holiday? Maybe it's a cult holiday classic.
Yes, a cult classic.
A cult
That's
classic?
probably.
I
would
go
give it
with
that.
I would just say it's a fun Christmas movie.
I feel like I've just seen it a lot since
All right.
I was a kid.
Two
so.
polls in this segment. Jingle All the Way. Holiday classic? Question mark.
Holiday classic.
I'm putting it up. 803-0550 is the phone number. If you're on hold, stay there. Sean, we'll start with you when we come back. We got Sal coming up at 7. Injury updates to get to on the Bills. It's Eagles week. So, we'll get my brother Lou DiBiase on later in the week on Philadelphia, which feels like the most frustrating team to cover in the league right now, although they've won. So it's like, again, that anxiety you might have about the Bills not winning yet. Philly should feel a little bit more free, but they still, yell at their team a lot. 803-0550 is the phone number. It's Jeremy and Joe. Jeremy's off today, and this is WGR.